Let's start with sports. Were you at the game on Tuesday night?
I thought it was an ESPN.
Were you at the game on Tuesday night? Because Atalanta 5-0. What a story for that team this year.
I'm still pinching myself. It's just incredible. I'm very happy for the team and the coach and the Procassi family. It's been great for Bergamo and Milan, and it's just really exciting.
I don't want you to get too excited, but can you win the league this year?
The old adage, take it one game at a time. So
yeah.
we just got to get healthy. We got a couple guys that are hurt, but they're playing fantastic.
It's amazing to see. Barcelona up next, and maybe straight qualification to not the next round, but the one after that, right?
Yeah,
That's how it works.
That would be big.
Big for European
football. I'm hoping to go to Barcelona.
That's the football. Okay. You might do the basketball.
Yeah, you should do basketball.
Okay.
Actually, there's a lot to talk about.
I can do the basketball.
Yeah, let's do basketball.
So reports that you're after majority ownership of the Boston Celtics. How much can you tell us this morning?
I can't comment, as you know, on any deals, including that deal.
Okay, that one specifically. Can we talk more broadly about the NBA franchises and what's happening there? Because I have noticed that audience levels, TV audience levels, have fallen off in some parts. What do you think is behind that?
I think it's fragmentation of viewing, and I think the viewership's really good when they can count it correctly and really find out who's watching where. So I don't think there's a concern there, and the league is really strong and has more stars than ever, and it's been fantastic. So I think that's kind of a bump in the road.
So we've covered football, we've covered basketball. Any other sports that you're going to buy a team in?
No, I'm not into cricket, so I'm good.
Well, I mean, there's golf.
You can do business now. Okay, you can move on.
No, I mean, honestly, there's actually a lot to talk about and whether you're going to buy another team. Are you going to buy another team?
Who knows?
Okay, all right. Well, let's move on, because right now we talk about Davos, and it all has been dominated by incredible optimism. America is going to boom, and Donald Trump, what's he going to do? Of course, there's also the overlay of artificial intelligence. What's been your biggest takeaway about what people are concerned about with the Trump administration?
Well, I think, first of all, this Davos is all Trump, all AI. I mean, that's all people are talking about. And the Trump issue is, what's going to happen with tariffs. Europe's worried about tariffs. Everybody's worried about tariffs. What's going to happen with the Ukraine. What's going to happen with the American economy and protectionism. That's their worry. And on AI, AI is for real. It feels a little bit like you remember 1999 internet boom. So there's a lot of hype, but there's a lot of reality in AI, and AI is going to change everything. I view AI as almost like building the railroads and the interstate highway system in the U.S. We're going to need to have that over the next 20 years, or we're going to fall behind. So I think it's a legitimate discussion on AI, and they came out with the Stargate program, which I think is fantastic, because other countries are getting ahead. China's investing billions, UAE is investing billions, Saudi's investing billions. I think the U.S. has to get out ahead of that trend, and it's going to affect everything over the next 20 years. I'm really excited about it.
As an investor, what's your approach to all of this? How do you think about the opportunities? You mentioned the late 90s. It took a while to find out who the ultimate winners would be. Are you expecting something similar this time around?
It's going to be a little different because I look at AI. You had winners like Google that were kind of natural monopolies. There can be many variants of large language models. So there can be a global large language model. There can be probably 4 or 5 of those. But now the real use is going to be vertical ones. So tailoring models with the data, specific data for, say healthcare. Specific models for transportation with transportation data in it. So I think vertical AI models will be the ones that start to impact the economy. And then the other ones are going to grow. And we need that infrastructure. And then what's going to happen is from that, you need power. Fusion is being talked about and is around the corner. All the fusion companies I look at are getting close to actually generating energy. The models are showing soon they're going to generate energy and build these large tokamaks. That's going to have to power all the centers to get us to the GPUs. Because if you look at the power uses of AI, it could be the entire power right now in the United States. So I think this Stargate program or program like it is needed, and we've got to match those other countries. And that is going to create a virtuous loop of spending, building the infrastructure, and it'll be great for America. It'll revolutionize healthcare as well.
I know that you've been very active in that space in particular, particularly in the speed that it will take to put new prescription drugs on the market using different machine learning techniques. I'm just wondering, is that your main focus right now of investment when it comes to AI, or are there other regions that you think are promising in the application in the near term, not just these long-term goals?
Well, I'm focused on the healthcare because I think that's the number one, but it'll be helpful in energy and finding energy and processing energy. It'll be helpful in transportation. It'll be helpful. It's going to be embedded in every business. And I think like liquid AI, which we're invested in, that doesn't require, it's built, as we talked about last year, they studied a worm's brain at MIT. Like, who would do that? There's 300 neurons in a worm's brain.
I think it sounds fascinating.
How many neurons do you think is in your brain?
301. No, I'm just kidding.
The average person has 86 billion. You guys probably have 87 each, but
Appreciate that,
86 billion.
Steve. Thank you.
You can come on again.
But they've come out with an AI system that requires 80% less power to load it. And that means you can put it on an edge device, so it'll be on your phone. So you're going to have, your assistant on your phone. This is going to start to be on all the phones. It's going to kind of revolutionize the way our lives are.
One aspect of this Davos that's so interesting is that there's some real tensions that need to be resolved, especially as everyone's talking about artificial intelligence. On the flip side, Donald Trump talking about national security. He's talking about the chips in the U.S. that could potentially transmit data back to China or one of our other adversaries or competitors. And I'm just wondering, as an investor, how you understand what's national security and what isn't.
Well, it's difficult. You got to follow the government, and it changes all the time. I think in general we do need national security, but it has to be focused. It has to have a purpose, and hopefully they'll have rational people that decide, what that is.
Do you worry that some voices will get a bigger say in the future in the private sector?
No, I don't worry, because we have a system that I think will work in the long term, and there's going to be a lot of there always has been fighting of different companies for different things, and so we'll get through it, and hopefully we'll do the right thing. We've got a Congress, we've got the court system.
Sure.
The United States is very stable, so I do think we need cybersecurity, and we need security in general. Hopefully we can have a détente with China, so we don't have that going on. And I think Trump, wants to cut deals, to move the economy forward, and I think that'll be a good thing.
I'm sure a lot of Europeans have asked you on your opinion on what the next 4 years is going to look like. What have you told the Europeans when you're asked that question?
I think the next 4 years, the Europeans, I've been to many meetings here with health ministers and all sorts of ministers, and what they say is the EU really isn't a full union. They use the same money, but there's not an integrated capital market. There's not integrated anything in terms of starting a business. You need to fill out, 100 pages of forms in Germany and different ones in Portugal. So many of them talk to me and say they need to create a 28th state with a set of rules, a virtual state with one set of rules to start a business and one set of bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is different in every country. You can't have a great capital market if you're dealing with 27 different bankruptcy codes or 27 different ways of doing things. So I think it's a great idea to start a 28th virtual European state, and businesses can opt to be in that or be in one of the 27. But it's hard to be in both of those at the same time. So the big advantage the U.S. has is it is one market. It has one set of regulations. So we have a leg up, and hopefully we'll make that even better in the next 4 years.
I want to return to where we began, which is sports, and my sport, which is auctions. I'm looking at bond auctions, which I think is like a sport right now.
That's quite a term.
Well, no, hold on a second. No, I'm serious, because I wonder how much you're watching what so many people here are worried about, which is that all of this optimism, all of this happy talk about getting together and really focusing on growth could get really stymied if you start to see bond yields climb and you start to see the fiscal pressures really come into play. How concerned are you about that?
I'm very concerned. All the data would show when you have an increase in the money supply as big as it's been in the last 5 years and a large deficit, that's going to cause higher interest rates and inflation. Those kind of go hand in hand. So my biggest worry is inflation going to get out of control and keep those interest rates up there? I think house mortgages are costing 7%. We definitely have to increase the supply, and they're looking at programs to do that. But with 7% mortgages, that's not great for growth.
You mentioned 1999, and we all know what happened after 1999. And there is this feeling that there needs to be a washout in some of the startup companies as they deal with technology that continues to evolve. Is that the big concern, that this kind of increase in rates could really catalyze that kind of washout? Is that what you're keeping your eye on?
Increase in rates definitely catalyzes washouts, because when money is free, there are no washouts, right? We had free money for a long period of time. Now, the good news is, for most of my life, too long life, most of my life, interest rates have been, T-bills have been 5%, 5.5%. So it's not anomalous. But yeah, that is the fear. We've already seen a lot of the companies' valuations go down and get wiped out. So I think we're kind of through that. I think there is a lot of hype on AI, and there's probably some fundings at very high levels, but I don't see it like it was in '99, where everything across the board was crazy. I used to walk into a room in San Francisco. They give me a term sheet and they say, we have a company that's going to, internet company is going to reduce the supply chain cost of medical equipment. We're valuing the company at $100 million. It has no revenues. This is the idea. And you have 2 hours to decide, do you want to invest $10 million at $100 million valuation?
I'll pass.
I was fell out of my chair. I mean, this is a real story. I said, thank you very much. And 999 of those went bankrupt, and then we had Google and a few other ones that did well. That's not the situation we're in right now.